All right, alrighty. I am back. I am back. Actually, okay. Let me see. Testing, testing. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Think so. Think so. Okay. So I think I'll just try to speak up. That's the key with this microphone setup. Just have to speak loudly. Ah. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and go live on TikTok too. There are two different ways you have of following this series, either on YouTube or yes, on TikTok. Stormer Show, the exact same title, STORMERSHOW. Thank you as always for any and all support that the show should receive. And I'm just glad that the HP camera is finally working. Thank you to HP or Victus, whoever got this camera working. Thank you. Okie doke. Here we go. Here we go. I'm live now on YouTube and I am also live on TikTok. Without further ado, here we go again with Jack Canfield's The Success Principle. We will be resuming this series with Chapter 1. Thank you for any and all support that the show should receive, regardless of platform. On YouTube, TikTok. Thank you very much for anything that. Okay, here we go. Principle 1. Take 100% responsibility for your life. You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. Jim Rohn, America's foremost business philosopher. One of the most pervasive myths in the American culture today is that we are entitled to a great life. That somehow, somewhere, someone, certainly not us, is responsible for filling our lives with continual happiness, exciting career options, nurturing family time, and blissful personal relationships simply because we exist. But the real truth, and the one lesson this whole book is based on, is that there is only one person responsible for the quality of the life that you live. That person is you. If you want to be successful, you have to take 100% responsibility for everything that you experience in your life. This includes the level of your achievements, the results you produce, the quality of your relationship, the state of your health and physical fitness, your income, your debts, your feelings, everything. This is not easy. In fact, most of us have been conditioned to blame something outside of ourselves, parts of our life we don't like. We blame our parents, bosses, our friends, our coworkers, our spouse, the weather, the economy, the government, our astrological chart, our lack of money. Anyone or anything we can pin the blame on. We never want to look at where the real problem is ourselves. There's a wonderful story about a man who is out walking one night and comes upon another man down on his knees looking for something under a street lamp. The passerby inquires as to what the other man is looking for. He answers that he's looking for his lost key. The passerby offers to help and gets down on his knees and helps him search for the key. After an hour of fruitless searching, he says, "We've looked everywhere for it and we haven't found it. Are you sure that you lost it here?" The other man replies, "No, I lost it in my house, but there is more light out here under the street lamp." Time to stop looking outside yourself for the answers to why you haven't created the life and results you want. For it is you who creates the quality of life you lead and the results you produce. You, no one else. To achieve major success in life, to achieve those things that are most important to you, you must assume 100% responsibility for your life. Nothing else will do. 100% responsibility for everything. As I mentioned in the introduction, when I was only 1 year out of graduate school, I had the good fortune to work for W. Clement Stone. He was a self-made multimillionaire worth $600 million at the time. Stone was also America's premier success guru. He was the publisher of Success Magazine, author of The Success System That Never Fails, and co-author with Napoleon Hill of Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. When I was completing my first week's orientation, Mr. Stone asked me if I took 100% responsibility for my life. "I think so," I responded. "This is a yes or no question. You either do or you don't." Like, yes, I'm not sure. Have you ever blamed anyone for any circumstance in your life? Have you ever complained about anything? Uh, yeah, yes, I have. Yes. Think. Yes, I have. Okay, then. That means you don't take 100% responsibility for your life. Taking 100% responsibility means you acknowledge that you create everything that happens to you. It means you understand that you are the cause of all your experiences. If you want to be really successful, no, you do, then you will have to give up blaming and complaining and take full responsibility for your life. That means all your results, both your successes and your failures. That is the prerequisite for creating a life of success. It is only by acknowledging that you've created everything up until now that you can take charge of creating the future you want. You see, Jack, realize that you've created your current conditions, then you can uncreate them and recreate them at will. Do you understand that? Yes, sir, I do. Are you willing to take 100% responsibility for your life? Yes, sir, I am. And I did. You have to give up all your excuses. 99% of all failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. George Washington Carver, chemist who discovered over 325 uses for the peanut. If you want to create the life of your dreams, then you are going to have to take 100% responsibility, 100% responsibility for your life as well. That means giving up all your excuses, all your victim stories, all the reasons why you can't and why you haven't up until now, and all your blaming of outside circumstances. You have to give them all up forever. You have to take the position that you've always had the power to make it different, to get it right, to produce the desired result. For whatever reason, ignorance, lack of awareness, fear, needing to be right, the need to feel safe, you chose not to exercise that power. Who knows why? It doesn't matter. The past is the past. All that matters now is that from this point forward, you choose. That's right, choice. Act as if you are 100% responsible for everything that does or doesn't happen to you. If something doesn't turn out as planned, you will ask yourself, how did I create that? What was I thinking? What were my beliefs? What did I say or not say? What did I do or not do to create that result? How did I get the other person to act that way? What do I need to do differently next time to get the result I want? What do we make where I work? Mostly we make excuses. I've skipped. Sorry about that. I skipped a page. A few years after I met Mr. Stone, Dr. Robert Resnick, psychotherapist in Los Angeles, taught me a very simple but very important formula that made this idea of 100% responsibility even clearer to me. The formula is E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. The basic idea is that every outcome you experience in life, whether it is a success or failure, wealth or poverty, health or illness, intimacy or estrangement, joy or frustration, is the result of how you've responded to an earlier event or events in your life. If you don't like the outcomes you're currently getting, there are two basic choices you can make. One, you can blame the event E for your lack of results, O. In other words, you can blame the economy, the weather, the lack of money, your lack of education, racism, gender bias, the current administration in Washington, your parents, your wife, or your husband, your boss's attitude, your employees, the system or lack of systems, and so on. If you're a golfer, you've probably even blamed your clubs and the course you played on. No doubt, all these factors do exist, but they were the deciding factor. If they were the deciding factor, nobody would ever succeed. Jackie Robinson would never have played Major League Baseball. Barack Obama would have never become president of the United States. Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington would never have become movie stars. Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer would have never become U.S. senators. Bill Gates would have never founded Microsoft. And Steve Jobs would have never started Apple Computers. For every reason why it's not possible, there are hundreds of people who have faced the same circumstances and succeeded. Lots of people overcome these so called limiting factors, so it can't be the limiting factors that limit you. It is not the external conditions and circumstances that stop you, it is you. We stop ourselves. We think limiting thoughts and engage in self defeating behaviors. We defend our self destructive habits such as drinking, smoking, and not getting enough sleep with indefensible logic. We ignore useful feedback, fail to continuously educate ourselves and learn new skills, waste time on the trivial aspects of our lives, engage in idle gossip, eat unhealthy food, fail to exercise, spend more money than we make, fail to invest in our future, avoid necessary conflict, fail to tell the uncomfortable truth, don't ask for what we want, and then wonder why our lives don't work. You can instead simply change your responses R to the events E, the way things are, until you get the outcomes O you want. You can change your thinking, change your communication, change the pictures you hold in your head, your images of yourself in the world, and change your behavior, the things you do. That is all you really have any control over anyway. Unfortunately, most of us are so run by our habits that we never change our behavior. We get stuck in our conditioned responses to our spouses and our children, to our colleagues at work, to our customers and our clients, to our students, and to the world at large. We are a bundle of conditioned reflexes that operate outside of our control. You have to regain control of your thoughts, your images, your dreams and daydreams, and your behavior. Everything you think, say, and do needs to become intentional and aligned with your purpose, your values, and your goals. If you don't like your outcomes, change your responses. Let's look at some examples of how this works. I remember living in Los Angeles during a terrible earthquake. 2 days later, I watched as a CNN reporter interviewed people commuting to work. The earthquake had damaged one of the main freeways leading to the city. Traffic was at a standstill, and what was normally a 1 hour drive had become a 2 or 3 hour drive. The CNN reporter knocked on the window of one of the cars stuck in traffic and asked the driver how he was doing. He responded angrily, "I hate California. First there were fires, then floods, now an earthquake. No matter what time I leave in the morning, I'm going to be late for work. This sucks." Then the reporter knocked on the window of the car behind him and asked the second driver the same question. This driver was all smiles. He replied, "It's no problem. I left my house at 5 a.m. I don't think under the circumstances my boss can ask for more than that. I have lots of music and my Spanish language lessons with me. Got my cell phone. I have coffee in a thermos, lunch. I even brought a book to read, so I'm fine." Now, if the earthquake or the traffic, the event, were really the deciding variables, then everyone should have been angry. But everyone wasn't. It was their individual response to the traffic that gave them their particular outcome. It was thinking negative thoughts or thinking positive thoughts, leaving the house prepared or leaving the house unprepared, that made the difference. It was all a matter of attitude and behavior that created completely different experiences. I've heard there's going to be a recession. I've decided not to participate. A friend of mine owns a Lexus dealership in Southern California. When war in the Middle East broke out, people stopped coming in to buy Lexuses. My friend and his sales team knew that if they didn't change their response R to the event E of nobody coming into the showroom, they were going to slowly go out of business. Their normal response R would have been to continue placing ads in the newspaper and on the radio, then wait for people to come into the dealership. That wasn't working. The outcome O they were getting was a steady decrease in sales. So they tried a number of new things. The one that worked was driving a fleet of new cars out to where the rich people were. Country clubs, marinas, polo grounds, parties in Beverly Hills, Westlake Village, and Lake Sherwood, and then inviting them to take a spin in a new Lexus. Now think about this. Have you ever test driven a new car and then got back into your old car? Remember that feeling of dissatisfaction you felt as you compared your old car to the new car you had just driven? Your old car was fine up until then, but suddenly you knew there was something better. You wanted it. Same thing happened with these folks. After test driving the new car, a high percentage of the people bought or leased a new Lexus. The dealership had changed their response, R, to an unexpected event, E, the war, until they got the outcome, O, increased sales, that they wanted. They actually ended up selling more cars per week than before the war broke out. Everything you experience today is the result of choices you've made in the past. Everything you experience in life, both internally and externally, is the result of how you've responded to a previous event. Event: you're given a $400 bonus. Response: spend it on a night on the town with friends. Outcome: you're broke. Event: you're given a $400 bonus. Response: you invest it in your mutual fund. Outcome: you have an increased net worth. You've control of only 3 things in your life: the thoughts you think, images you visualize, and the actions you take, your behavior. How you use these three things determines everything you experience. If you don't like what you're producing and experiencing, you have to change your responses. Change your negative thoughts to positive ones. Change what you daydream about. Change your habits. Change what you read. Change your friends. Change how you talk to yourself and others. If you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you've always got. 12-step programs such as Alcoholics Anonymous define insanity as continuing the same behavior and expecting a different result. It ain't going to happen. If you're an alcoholic and you keep on drinking, your life is not going to get any better. Likewise, if you only continue your current behaviors, your life is not going to get any better either. The day you change your responses is the day your life will begin to get better. If what you're currently doing would produce the more and better that you're seeking in life, the more and better would have already shown up. If you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. You have to give up blaming. All blame is a waste of time. No matter how much fault you find with another, regardless of how much you blame him, it will not change you. Wayne Dyer, co-author of How to Get What You Really, 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 Really Want. You will never become successful as long as you continue to blame someone or something else for your lack of success. If you're going to be a winner, you have to acknowledge the truth. It is you who took the actions, thought the thoughts, created the feelings, and made the choices that got you to where you now are. It was you. You were the one who ate the junk food. You were the one who didn't say no. You were the one who took the job. The Bucks picks up speed here. Buck picks up speed. Yeah. You are the one who stayed in the job. You are the one who chose to believe them. You are the one who ignored your intuition. You are the one who abandoned your dream. You are the one who bought it. You are the one who didn't take care of it. You were the one who decided you had to do it alone. You were the one who trusted him. You were the one who said yes to the dogs. In short, you thought the thoughts, you created the feelings, you made the choice, you said the words. That's why you are where you are now. You have to give up complaining. The man who complains about the way the ball bounces is likely the one who dropped it. That was Lou Holtz, the only coach in NCAA history to lead 6 different college teams to postseason bowl games, winner of a national championship and Coach of the Year honors, now an ESPN football analyst. Let's take a moment to really look at complaining. In order to complain about something or someone, you have to believe that something better exists. You have to have a reference point of something you prefer that you are not willing to take responsibility for creating. Let's look at that more closely. If you didn't believe there was something better possible, more money, a bigger house, more fulfilling job, more fun, a more loving partner, you couldn't complain. So you have this image of something better and you know you'd prefer it, but you're unwilling to take the risks required to create it. Complaining is an ineffective response to an event that does not produce a better outcome. Think about this. People only complain about things they can do something about. We don't complain about the things we have no power over. Have you ever heard anyone complain about gravity? No, never. Have you ever seen an elderly person all bent over with age walking slowly down the street with the aid of a walker complaining about gravity? Of course not. Well, why not? If it weren't for gravity, people wouldn't fall down the stairs, Planes wouldn't fall out of the sky, and we wouldn't break any dishes. But nobody complains about it. And the reason is because gravity just exists. There's nothing anyone can do about gravity, so we just accept it. We know that complaining will not change it, so we don't complain about it. In fact, because it just is, we use gravity to our advantage. Build aqueducts down mountainsides to carry water to us, and we use drains to take away our waste. Even more interesting is that we choose to play with gravity, to have fun with it. Almost every sport we play uses gravity. Ski, skydive, high jump, throw the discus and the javelin, and play basketball, baseball, and golf, all of which require gravity. The circumstances you complain about are all situations you can change, but you've chosen not to. You can get a better job, find a more loving partner, make more money, move to where the jobs are, live in a nicer house, and eat healthier food. But all these things would require you to change. Refer to the list on page 11. You could learn to cook healthier food. Say no in the face of peer pressure. Quit and find a better job. Take the time to conduct due diligence. Trust your own gut feelings. Go back to school to pursue your dream. Take better care of your possessions. Reach out for help. Ask others to assist you. Take a self development class. Sell or give away the dogs. But why don't you simply do those things? Because they involve risks. You run the risk of being unemployed, left alone, or ridiculed and judged by others. You run the risk of failure, confrontation, or being wrong. You run the risk of your mother, your neighbors, or your spouse disapproving of you. Make a change might take effort, money, and time. It might be uncomfortable, difficult, or confusing. And so, to avoid risking any of those uncomfortable feelings and experiences, you stay put and complain about it. As I stated before, complaining means you have a reference point for something better that you prefer, but that you are unwilling to take the risk of creating. Either accept that you're making the choice to stay where you are, take responsibility for your choice, and stop complaining, or take the risk of doing something new and different to create your life exactly the way you want it. If you want to get from where you are to where you want to be, of course you're going to have to take that risk. So make the decision to stop complaining, to stop spending time with complainers, and get on with creating the life of your dreams. If you want to get from where you are to where you want to be, first you're going to have to take that risk. Pete Carroll, the coach of the NFL Seattle Seahawks football team, won the 2014 Super Bowl, has 3 rules for his team. Number 1, always protect the team. Number 2, no whining, no complaining, and no excuses. And number 3, be early. These are the rules of a Super Bowl championship team. They are worth adapting. The $2 game. Here's an exercise that you can do in your home or office. It's one we do in ours and in our seminars. Find a large jar or a fishbowl and label it no blaming, no complaints, no excuses. Every time you or someone in your group catches themselves blaming someone else, complaining about something, or making an excuse for their lack of results, the offender has to put $2 in the jar. Not as punishment, but as a technique to deepen everyone's awareness that these behaviors have a cost. You're complaining to the wrong person. Have you ever noticed that people almost always complain to the wrong person? To someone who can't do anything about their complaint? They go to work and complain about their spouse. Then they come home and complain to their spouse about the people at work. Why? Because it's easier. It's less risky. It takes courage to tell your spouse that you're not happy with the way things are at home. It takes courage to ask for a behavioral change. It also takes courage to ask your boss to plan better so that you don't end up working every weekend. But only your boss can do anything about that. Your spouse can't. Learn to replace complaining with making requests and taking action that will achieve your desired outcomes. That is what successful people do. That is what works. If you find yourself in a situation you don't like, either work to make it better or leave. Do something to change it or get the heck out. Agree to work on the relationship or get a divorce. Work to improve working conditions or find a new job. Either way, you'll get a change. As the old adage says, don't just sit there and complain. Do something. And remember, it's up to you to make the change, to do something different. The world doesn't owe you anything. You have to create it. You either create or allow everything that happens to you. To be powerful, you need to take the position that you create or allow everything that happens to you. By create, I mean that you directly cause something to happen by your actions or inactions. If you walk up to a man in a bar who's bigger than you, and you've obviously been drinking for a long time and say to him, "You're really ugly and stupid," and he jumps off the bar stool, hits you in the jaw, and you end up in the hospital, you created that. That's an easy to understand example. Here's one that may be harder to swallow. Work late every night. You've come home tired and burned out. You eat dinner in a coma and then sit down in front of the television and watch a basketball game. You're too tired and stressed out to do anything else, like go for a walk or play with the kids. This goes on for years. Your wife asks you to talk to her. Say, "Later, I'm watching the game." 3 years later, you come home to an empty house and a note that says she left you and had taken the kids. You created that one too. Other times, we simply allow things to happen to us by our inaction and our unwillingness to do what is necessary to create or maintain what we want. You didn't follow through on your threat to take away privileges if the kids didn't clean up after themselves and now the house looks like a war zone. You didn't demand he join you in counseling or leave the first time he hit you, and now you're still getting hit. You didn't attend any sales and motivational seminars because you were too busy, and now the kid just won the top sales award. The new kid just won the sales award. You didn't make the time to take the dogs to obedience training, and now they're out of control. You didn't take time to maintain your car, and now you're sitting by the side of the road with your car broken down. You didn't go back to school, and now you're being passed over for a promotion. Realize that you are not the victim here. You stood passively by and let it happen. You didn't say anything, make a demand, make a request, say no, try something new, or leave. Yellow alerts. Beware that nothing ever just happens to you. Just like the yellow alerts in the Star Trek television series and movies, you almost always receive advance warnings in the form of telltale signs, comments from others, gut instinct or intuition that alert you to the impending danger and give you time to prevent the unwanted outcome. You're getting yellow alerts all the time. They're external yellow alerts. He keeps coming home later and later with alcohol on his breath. The client's first check bounced. He screamed at his secretary. Mother warned you. Your friends told you. And there are internal yellow alerts. That feeling in your stomach. That feeling, that fleeting thought that just maybe. That intuition that said. That fear that emerged. That dream that woke you up in the middle of the night. We have a whole language that informs us. Clues, inklings, suspicions, the handwriting on the wall. I had a feeling that I could see it coming for a mile. My gut feeling told me. These alerts give you time to change your response R in the E plus R equals O equation. However, too many people ignore the yellow alerts because paying attention to them would require them to do something that is uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to confront your spouse about the cigarettes in the ashtray that have lipstick on them. It's uncomfortable to speak up in a staff meeting when you're the only one who feels that the proposed plan won't work. It is uncomfortable to tell someone you don't trust them. So you pretend not to see, not know, because it's easier, more convenient, and less uncomfortable, avoids confrontation, keeps the peace, and protects you from having to take risks. Life becomes much easier. Successful people, on the other hand, face facts squarely. They do the uncomfortable and take steps to create their desired outcomes. Successful people don't wait for disasters to occur and then blame something or someone else for their problems. Once you begin to respond quickly and decisively to signals and events as they occur, life becomes much easier. You start seeing improved outcomes both internally and externally. Old internal self-talk such as "I feel like a victim," "I feel used," "nothing ever seems to work out for me," is replaced with "I feel great," "I am in control," "I can make things happen." External outcomes such as "nobody ever comes to our store," "we missed our quarterly goals," "people are complaining that our new product doesn't work," are transformed into "we have more money in the bank," "I lead the division in sales," "our product is flying off the shelves." Simple isn't necessarily easy. Though this principle is simple, it's not necessarily easy to implement. It requires concentrated awareness, dedicated discipline, and a willingness to experiment and take risks. You have to be willing to pay attention to what you're doing and to the results you're producing. You have to ask yourself, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your managers, your teachers, your coaches, and your clients for feedback. Is what I'm doing working? Could I be doing it better? Is there something more I should be doing that I am not? Is there something I am doing that I should stop doing? How do you see me limiting myself? Don't be afraid to ask. Most people are afraid to ask for feedback about how they're doing because they're afraid of what they're going to hear. There is nothing to be afraid of. The truth is the truth. You are better off knowing the truth than not knowing. Once you know, you can do something about it. You cannot improve your life, your relationships, your game, or your performance without feedback. Slow down and pay attention. Life will always give you feedback about the effects of your behavior if you'll just pay attention. If your golf ball is always slicing to the right, if you're not making sales, if you're getting C's in all your college courses, if your children are mad at you, if your body is tired and weak, if your house is a mess, or if you're not happy, this is all feedback. It's telling you that something is wrong. This is the time to start paying attention to what is happening. Ask yourself, how am I creating or allowing this to happen? What am I doing that's working that I need to be doing more of? Should I do more practicing, meditating, delegating, trusting, listening, asking questions, keeping my eye on the ball, advertising, saying I love you, controlling my carbohydrate intake? Or what am I doing that's not working? What do I need to be doing less of? Am I talking too much? Watching too much television? Spending too much money? Eating too much sugar? Drinking too much? Being late too often? Gossiping? Putting other people down? You can also ask yourself, what am I not doing that I need to try to see if it works? Do I need to listen more, exercise, get more sleep, drink more water, ask for help, do more marketing, read, plan, communicate, delegate, follow through, hire a coach, volunteer, or be more appreciative? This book is full of proven success principles and techniques that you can immediately put into practice in your life. You will have to suspend judgment, a leap of faith, act as if they are true, and try them out. Only then will you have firsthand experience about their effectiveness for your life. You won't know if they work unless you give them a try. Here's the rub. No one else can do this for you. Only you can do it. Formula is simple. Do more of what is working, do less of what isn't, and try on new behaviors to see if they produce better results. Pay attention. Your results don't lie. The easiest, fastest, and best way to find out what is or isn't working is to pay attention to the results that you're currently producing. You're either golfing par or you're not. You're either maintaining your ideal body weight or you're not. You're either happy or you are not. Either have what you want or you don't. It's that simple. Results don't lie. You have to give up any excuses and justifications and come to terms with the results you're producing. If you're under quota or overweight, all the great reasons in the world won't change that. The only thing that will change your results is to change your behavior. Prospect more. Get some sales training. Change your sales presentation. Change your diet. Consume fewer calories. And exercise more frequently. These are things that will make a difference. But you have to first be willing to look at the results you're producing. The only starting point that works, reality. Start paying attention to what is so. Look around at your life and the people in it. Are you and they happy? Is there balance, beauty, comfort, and ease? Do your systems work? Are you getting what you want? Is your net worth increasing? Are your grades satisfactory? Are you healthy, fit, and pain free? Are you getting better in all areas of your life? If not, then something needs to happen. And only you can make it happen. Don't kid yourself. Be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Take your own inventory. From victim to victory. Raj Babsar, hopefully I'm saying that. Raj Babsar was born to be a gymnast. It was the natural career choice for a kid who, at the age of 4, lived to climb up things, including trees and furniture, and jump off them. His parents, worried that he'd hurt himself and destroy their house, signed him up for gymnastics classes at a nearby gym. Raj quickly fell in love with the sport, and by the age of 10, he wanted to be the best at his sport, the sport that he loved, and represent his country in the Olympics. He began focusing intensely on becoming a better gymnast. Soon the success began to show. Started winning first and second place at competitions and was a 5-time Texas champion by the time he entered high school. His high school and college years were a blur of awards and championships. Regional state champion, national state champion, senior national team, and then placement in 2 medal-winning championship teams. In his mind, he was unstoppable. In 2004, Raj was competing for a spot in the U.S. Olympic gymnastics team. Of the 12 routines he'd done, 11 of them had been perfect. Everybody agreed that he was a shoo-in. Elated, he was thinking, Greece, here I come. But at the conclusion of the trials, when they read off the names of the Olympians, his wasn't on the list. Then he heard the words Raj Babsar, alternate. In that moment, his whole world, everything he'd been working toward for a decade and a half, was shattered. His expectations were sky high and tangled up in his self-worth. And when they weren't met on that awful day in 2004, he came down to earth with a crash. For the next few years, he burned with one desire: find out why he'd been denied. He needed to find someone to blame. Although Raj went to Greece as an alternate, it was a bittersweet experience watching his teammates work together and compete day after day. Unofficially, he was part of the team, yet it was clear he wasn't really one of them. He never had a chance to compete, and he returned from the trip disillusioned and lost. Back at home, he did some serious soul-searching. He asked himself, do I truly enjoy gymnastics? Do I love the competition regardless of the scores and the accolades? His answer was yes. So he decided to recommit himself to being a gymnast, and this time to throw himself into the sport, not just to win competitions, but for the art of it and the love of it. Unfortunately, without the intense drive to win, his performance suffered. At the 2007 U.S. Nationals, held 9 months before the 2008 Olympic team was selected, he bombed. His performance was rocky, and for the first time in 9 years, he didn't even make the national team. He had to own up to the truth. What he was doing wasn't working. A few days later, a friend of his, a 2000 Olympian himself, handed Raj a book and said, "You need to read this." Raj took it from him and saw on the cover a picture of a white-haired guy with a big smile and the words, "How to get from where you are to where you want to be." He thought, no book can get me where I want to be. My problem is different. But when his coach recommended the same book a few days later, Raj decided to give it a chance. I'll let Raj tell the rest of the story. The book was The Success Principles, and the first thing I learned was that to be successful, you have to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens in your life. This was a tough one to swallow, considering I had been convinced for years that life had played against me. Soon, however, I realized that harboring resentment, instead of continuing to look for someone to blame, I began to turn that energy inward and examine how my own mindset of fear and negativity had contributed to my recent performance. Where was my fear coming from? And what was causing these negative thoughts in my head? I always thought that fear meant I was broken. But Jack taught me that successful people experience fear and negativity on a daily basis, yet still choose to move forward toward their goals. Negative thoughts, rejection, fear, they're just part of the process. Suddenly, these thoughts became challenges to overcome, rather than huge roadblocks or evidence of my failure. I was on a whole new course. My coach saw the light go on in me. It was like a switch flipped. He said, working with him on a new training plan, I recommitted to my dream of being an Olympian. But now I also wanted to be an Olympian in life. I created a vision board and a mind map, not only to help me visualize success, but also to break down my huge, lofty, overwhelming Olympic goal into areas of daily focus that I could manage. When the 2008 Olympic tryouts were held, I sailed through the competition. I felt happy, clear, and on top of my game. I nailed all my routines. With all the work I'd done on myself, I was confident they would name me to the team this time. But when they named the final team members, my name wasn't called. What? In a crew repeat of 2004, I heard Raj Bhavsar, alternate. When a reporter from NBC asked me how I felt about being named an alternate a second time, I answered with one sentence: there is no external event that can defeat my sense of inner accomplishment. Still, I was honestly baffled that after all I had done, my dream was still outside my grasp. While a part of me was ready to give up on being an Olympian, something inside me said, keep the dream alive. There's no way this is over. The next morning, I called the USA Gymnastics officials and reconfirmed that I'd been honored to be an alternate. For the next week, I trained hard and stayed ready. Then it was announced that Paul Hamm, the 2004 Olympic gold medalist and a member of the Olympic team for 2008, had made the decision to withdraw due to injuries. The committee would decide which one of the three alternates would be chosen to replace him. Waiting for the decision was probably the most excruciating yet exciting 24 hours of my entire life. The next day at the gym, my coach, my sports performance counselor, and I were on the phone to USA Gymnastics when the president of the organization came on the line to give us the official announcement. As he started his announcement, saying how happy they were about the decision and on and on and on, inside I was begging, just say the name. Is it me or not? At this time, finally said, we'd like to announce the new member of the 2008 Olympic team, Raj Bhavsar. With a shout, Raj fell to his knees. Then, smiling and crying at the same time, he stood up and hugged his coach. He hugged his counselor. He hugged everyone. But Raj also knew the road ahead would be difficult. All ham out, not a single member of the team had any Olympic experience. Sports media, even people in the gymnastics community, had written off the team, doubting they could make it to the finals. That was when Raj committed to doing whatever he could to keep the outlook positive. The night before the competition, he assembled all 6 team members and urged them to commit to caring for one another as human beings. Human beings first, athletes second. In that moment, each knew that his teammates had his back. The next morning, the team walked onto the competition floor with their heads held high, and in a stunning upset, with the entire arena chanting "USA, USA," Raj and his teammates edged out the Germans to win the Olympic bronze medal. Okay, that was the first chapter, or I should say, principle 1 of the success principles. Take 100% responsibility of your life. Alrighty, folks. If I can manage it, I will try to read a chapter a day till the book is done. I thank you for any and all support that the show should receive, whether it's a like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, donation, Venmo Stormer Show. If I am not feeling up to it, I'll just skip that day. And let me double check here. Chapters book 67. Yeah, 67. Yeah. So there you have it. Chapter 1 of the Success Principles. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you again for any and all support that the show should receive. You all sleep tight. Have a good night. Thank you very much for watching.